Okay, hi everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to the Inventa group, the Inventa Capital group, luncheon here at the Rural Symposium. Welcome to everyone watching on live stream. I think you'll find this very informative. So, for those that don't know me, my name is Jeff Clark. I'm at thegoldadvisor.com. If you don't know, my dad was actually a gold prospector. When he joined up, he had some success, but when he joined up with another group of prospectors, that's when the business really took off. With multiple claims, several discoveries, it was a lot of fun for him. And that's exactly what we have with these companies here today, the Inventa Capital Group. It's a group of people that have been successful, that have joined forces. So the advantages of joining forces, of course, is that it reduces costs, you get better deal flow, and in this group we have literally some award-winning geologists as part of the team. Full disclosure, I own some of these companies. I am overweight some of these companies, so just so you know. But I like them a lot. So what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce Michael. He'll come up first, and they'll introduce each other after that. But we've got silver, copper, royalties, uranium. So lots under one roof. So I hope you enjoy this. So first up is the co-founder of the Inventa Capital Group and the CEO of Vizsla Silver, Michael Konnert. Please give him a welcome.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate that. I wonder if this comes out. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It's great to have you here. I thought half the room might be in the room for a siesta after that fire alarm this morning, but thank you for showing up. Appreciate it. We're going to go through the companies that we have here. There's 4 companies, 4.5 companies we'll talk about today, and at the end we can do some Q&A. As Jeff mentioned, Inventa Capital is a group of companies. We share resources, we incubate ideas, we identify opportunities and strong management teams, and then we back them and we give them kind of all the resources to succeed. And Inventa started in 2017, a partnership between myself and Craig Parry. We started Vizsla Silver under Inventa's banner. And Vizsla has gone from a 15-cent IPO to $5 recently. It's been a screaming success for us. It's just the very beginning with Vizsla, so there's a lot to come there. But it's a roadmap, it's a model for what we like to see with the rest of the companies in the group. We talked about this here. So we have a globally significant portfolio: Vizsla Silver and Vizsla Copper in British Columbia, Corcel in Arizona, Vizsla Silver in Mexico, Targa, which is doing a high-impact first-round drilling this year in Quebec, Cosa in Saskatchewan, and Heliostar is also in Mexico. Heliostar is producing gold in Mexico. I'll start here with Vizsla Silver. Our shares are traded on the NYSE and the TSX under the ticker VZLA. And we're developing the next Tier 1 world-class silver mine in Mexico. I've already made forward-looking statements, I'm sure, but I'm going to continue to do that. We will all do that, so please avail yourself of this disclaimer and do your own due diligence. Our vision is to become the world's largest single-asset silver primary producer through the exploration and development of our Pánuco district in Mexico. We have a vision of producing first silver in 2027. We're moving very rapidly towards the shovel-ready production phase here. The team, I believe, is the most important asset. We have Craig Parry, who's here as our chairman. Very important is Simon Smirlik. Simon is our Chief Operating Officer. About a year and a half ago, he took a massive pay cut, left the world's leading mine-building engineering company, Ausenco, where he had a career of building some of the most important mines around the world, and he decided to take the construction of Pánuco on as his full-time job. He was a director from the years prior and a large shareholder, but this is an extreme vote of confidence from Simon, and we have all the confidence in the world that he'll deliver this project in the next 18 months or 24 months. We also have Jesus Velador, who's a very well-known geologist in Mexico. He was involved in the discovery, pardon me, of the Juanicipio vein. He was opposite of Meg. He was on the Fresnillo side. And of course, Mexico's mining godfather, Eduardo Luna, as our director, brings a lot of experience and oversight to the board. Very, very well connected in Mexico. So a little bit on our timeline here. We announced a year ago, we announced our PEA, exactly a year ago. And that set up the next steps for development, which is that we've been working since that PEA on the feasibility study. Feasibility study will come out this year before Christmas. And that feasibility study is going to be an important market document. Oftentimes companies will go from a PEA to a feasibility study, and the economics will actually go backwards. The economics will not improve. And we believe that the feasibility study will actually be a positive catalyst for the stock. We think that we're going to go from the PEA to the feasibility and actually see an improvement in the numbers that we'll put out. So that's going to be very exciting for us. We've started the test mine. We're about 180 meters today underground at the test mine. So we have an operating mine on the property. I was just there last week. It's incredible to see drill holes turn into now underground mining. Test mine is very important for us to de-risk the project. It de-risks the contractors. It de-risks the startup of the mine by allowing us to test our team. But it also allows us early access to the mineralized body at Copala, which is incredibly helpful. And we have submitted our permits earlier this year, our permit applications earlier this year. We expect to get that within the next 12 months. We see the permitting landscape improving drastically in Mexico. This is an entirely underground mine, so that's an important caveat there. This has never been conceived as an open pit mine. This is always underground. And underground mining in Mexico is accepted, it's permittable, and we expect to see our permits come shortly. Feasibility study, as I said, will come out before Christmas, and then there's a period of construction with first silver in 2027. One of the most important things about this project is the proximity to Mazatlan and the accessibility due to the infrastructure. We have two highways running through the property. This is a 400-year mining history, this is a 400-year-old historic mining district, and as a result, the towns that are there, all have excellent power lines, road access. Another way to say this is that we drilled 400,000 meters of diamond drilling without ever having to build a road on our own. So we use existing infrastructure, whereas if you were in other locales, you would have to build incredible amounts of infrastructure. That infrastructure gives us safety as well. We're close to communities, we're close to the city of Mazatlan, so there's a lot of benefits to this infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier, we are really that singular silver development company that has this short time frame moving to production. We saw, I'll just jump ahead to a couple slides here. We saw, Silvercrest, Gatos, and Meg Silver trade hands here recently at NAV multiples of an average of 1.8. Now, we compare very favorably to a lot of these criteria here, but we stand out in some quite important ways. For one, we're 100% owned. We don't have any joint venture partners. We own the property 100%. We have extremely high grades of just precious metals, so we don't have lead and zinc and other metals in our mine plan here. So you get 100% pure precious metal exposure. And we have the most incredible exploration upside out of this entire group of 4 companies here. We have 40,000 hectares, past producing, some virgin areas that have never seen a drill rig, but major structures running through them, something unlike we saw with Gato, Silvercrest, and Meg. So, although these all changed hands at a very nice premium, I think that Vizsla, as we move closer and closer into production, is deserving of that premium and possibly more, I would think, going forward. So we compare very, very well to the leading recent transactions in the silver space. All 3 of those transactions have been in Mexico, where we are, of course. And I think we'll see that NAV multiple go from 0.7 times to something more in line with what we saw in our peers here, of closer to 1.8 times in the coming months and short time frame as we go into production. I don't know how I'm doing on time. 2 minutes, okay. So a little bit more about the PEA. I draw your attention to the base case. This is the metal price environment, long-term metal prices that we use in the PEA, $26 silver and sub $2,000 gold. At these metal prices a year ago, we saw $1.1 billion NPV, 86% IRR, a 9-month payback period, and really importantly, an NPV to CapEx ratio that's unlike anything else in the silver market, anything in the last 10 years. Today, those numbers at our current metal price environment is closer to $2 billion NPV. It's a triple-digit IRR, so 115% IRR, 6-month payback, and an NPV to CapEx ratio far higher than that, which puts us in a league of our own in terms of these economics. The cash flow that this mine will generate in the first few years is incredible. It's about 60% of our current market cap each year. And that's not all. You know, the mine area is just a very small portion of our original property. Of course, this is a 7,000 hectare property here. We've now grown to 40,000 hectares in this area. So this is a small snapshot of the properties that we have. But the mine area is completely open in all directions in terms of the resources. It'll continue to grow. It's an 11-year mine life right now. It'll probably be a 20, 30-year mine life and keep on going there. These veins tend to never quit. But if you move to the central portion of the district, we have a new discovery. The eastern portion of the district, we're making discoveries as well. So this is going to continue to grow. I believe this is going to be a billion-ounce district like its neighbor San Dimas. But as I mentioned, we've taken and grown from that original property package to now this huge trend that runs basically down from San Dimas through our property. So one known billion-ounce district up here, one very likely billion-ounce district here. I think there's very high potential for each of these properties to host a billion ounces of silver equivalent here. So we're moving very quickly to becoming the world's best silver miner. Okay, pardon me. My pleasure to introduce Craig Parry, CEO and Chairman of Vizsla Copper and Chairman of Inventa Capital.
Thanks. Thank you, Mike. You've got to listen to what that bloke says very, very carefully, and there's a good reason. I've been investing in this space for 30-odd years now, and I've made more money just following what he's doing and putting money behind him than anyone else ever, including Robert Friedland and Frank Juster and whoever you want to mention. So very important man, and people are so important in this business, and that fella there has fast proven himself to be one of the superstars of the mining sector and the exploration sector. So you very much want to invest in what he's doing. Now, a quick, no such thing as a free lunch. I'm going to make you work for it. I want a show of hands from everyone who owns one of the Vizsla companies. Now, leave your hand up if you still own Vizsla Royalty. No, okay. Who owns Vizsla Copper? Oh, good stuff. Well done, Jeff. And we've got a big shout out to Jeff because he's a superstar himself, and his Gold Advisor newsletter's fantastic work. Vizsla Royalty, I'll just mention that very, very quickly. We spun a royalty out of Vizsla Silver. It's a tremendous investment opportunity. Royalties, of course, are, typically the best investment opportunities in the sector because they're so stable, long-term cash flow comes out of them. And this is one of the bargains. I think I've bought about $5 million worth of stock, Mike, myself, in marketing and placements in this recent years. I expect to triple that money in the next year or two. So look out for more Vizsla Royalty. I'll quickly get to Vizsla Copper here. We've got a few to get through. I don't know whether you saw the copper market yesterday. Very good news. It went to $6, up 20% on the day. I don't know whether it's going to stay there. I think longer term we're going to see $20 or $30 per pound copper. So you want to be exposed to that. Of course, it's the biggest, deepest market in the mining sector. You can have tremendous returns come from copper. And one of my original mentors and business partners is a bloke called Owen Hegarty in Australia. He took Oxiana in 1999. Oxiana was a $5 million company. By the time we merged it with Zinifex, it became a $12 billion company over 6 years, delivering 10,000% returns to investors. That's what we're trying to do here. This is a little bit like, and a lot of you will know Ross Beatty, of course, and Equinox and Lumina Copper. This is a similar strategy. We've been putting our foot on good copper projects in great jurisdictions with vast amounts of exploration upside, and that's very important. I'm a geologist myself. I've been exploring all over the world for, 30 years now. Jeff, I've been a porphyry geologist for 25 years. You know, you see the returns that you can get from a bullish copper market. It's all the same people. John over here is going to present shortly, and I mentioned people are so very, very important. These fine young gentlemen are hungry, hard-working, brilliant blokes. And Keith, you know, Keith and I have worked together for 10 years now. Keith was with me at ISO Energy when we discovered the Hurricane deposit. Keith's got a proven track record in exploration, geology and discovery, so listen in very carefully to what those fellas have got to say. Vizsla Copper, very, very straightforward. Canada, I suppose, has some of the world's great copper deposits. Certainly Teck produces from its Gibraltar mine and some of these other mines in British Columbia, massive amounts of copper. The rocks that trend all the way from Chile and continue on through the Andes, through the Sierra Madre in Mexico, and then on into Alaska, continue through all of British Columbia. So it's a great place to explore for porphyry coppers, and hence you've got some fabulous deposits there. It gets a little bit of a knock in that some people say these deposits are too low grade, but if you go back 10 or 20 years ago, you know, the global mined head, 30 years ago, the global mined head grade of copper around the world was about 1% copper. Today it's about 0.5%. So 0.5% is the new 1%. But don't overthink that in the sense that there are higher grade projects here, and if you look at some of the deposits around Kelowna, they are percent type copper deposits. So there's plenty of high grade copper in this area, and of course it's a fantastic place to build the project. You can get permits in time. The First Nations are very, very supportive. I've been the chairman of Skeena Resources for the past 8 years. I'm now the lead director of Skeena. We work very closely with the Taltan, and we've got fantastic support from the First Nations. We'll be building one of the world's great gold mines there, one of the world's biggest gold mines. But just to bring it back, what we've done over the past 3 years is put our foot on as much copper as we possibly can. At the moment, we've got about 4 billion pounds of copper. You can do the numbers on that, Jeff, as to what the in situ value is. You simply times 4 billion times 6. And then we've got nearly 2 million ounces of gold there and a hell of a lot of molybdenum and silver as well. That's the resource base as it stands at the moment. If you look at the average grade of, say, our wood jam, and we've got two key projects, the wood jam project and the Poplar district. The average grade is about 0.4% copper, but you look at, when you start to pull these resources apart and look at what you've really got, there's 33 million tonnes there at nearly 0.7% copper, so well above the average mined head grade of copper deposits around the world. So we know there are higher grade zones in these systems, but there are also larger porphyry style deposits. So it's a great, we have a large mineral inventory there that more than underpins the value of the current company. So your investment's largely safe in that sense, as long as you believe in the thesis, the copper thesis, and where it's headed. We have 4 projects in total, as I mentioned. Very, very large resource base. Sorry, I put this up there. Discoveries still matter. And now this is very, very important as I speak right now. We started drilling on the Poplar project 2 weeks ago. We've seen very strong evidence that there's a porphyry system hiding there, and we're drilling that at the moment, and that's that area just there. Now we're a bit tethered here. Tethered's an important word right at the moment too, by the way, given what they're doing in the gold space. The Poplar project, It has a large resource base that sits about 10 kilometres north of this target that we're drilling at the moment. This target's one of the most, I cut my teeth in porphyry geology in the Andes in Chile. I lived in Chile in Antofagasta for 2 years. Great place to visit, terrible place to live. Never found a porphyry copper deposit, but I think this might be the first porphyry copper deposit I ever discover. The reason we like this, and there's a hodgepodge of things there, but it's a very large magnetic anomaly with a classic mag donut in the middle of it. We've now done soil geochemistry across the top of it. It lights up a very strong copper soil geochem anomaly at the centre of that target, surrounded by a zinc halo, and that's important because that indicates that you've got classic porphyry copper zonation. We then did IP lines across it, and it's a very, very prominent IP anomaly that suggests strongly that we have sulphides below that system. So we're drilling that as we speak. It's early days. I can't say too much, but I'm very, very excited. Over at our Wood Jam project, we made another discovery a year ago we're yet to drill out, called the Megaton discovery. We sunk 2 holes in there. We drilled about 80 metres at 0.2% copper. We know we're on the edge of another major porphyry system there, so I think we're a good chance of discovery this year there as well. And then very, very quickly, the Copper View project. And some of you might know Kodiak Copper. I know that Claudia, the CEO of Kodiak's been here in the past. They put out a resource recently. We have a major IP anomaly sitting only 4 kilometres north of their gate zone where they drilled 585 metres at 0.5% copper about 2 or 3 years ago. So we're drilling just to the north of that. So you want to be set now. This is, and I've got 1 minute left, Jeff, just looking at a bit more detail at the Poplar project, a great location, only 40 kilometres off the major north-south highway that runs up to Alaska, very close to existing mining infrastructure, the Huckleberry mines there, the power and road run across our property. And this is this major mag anomaly. Now the Poplar deposit itself, where we've already got about 2 billion pounds of copper and 750,000 ounces of gold in the ground, and then you've got this stonking great mag anomaly. We're drilling right in the centre of that donut as we speak. And look out for news in the next few weeks because I think it's looking pretty exciting. And what I can tell you also is that it's very, very cheap. Again, we invest very heavily in all of our own companies. I think I've put nearly $3 million into this of my own money in recent times. Our market capitalisation is $37 million. We've got about $5 million in the bank, and we're drilling for discovery as we speak. So if you want to get set, now's the time. I love to invest when companies start to drill, and we're drilling. So thank you very much. Oh, sorry. And now I'd like to introduce a fellow Australian-Canadian, John Ward. John has been our head of investor relations, and very pleased to announce that he's made the grade and been promoted to CEO of one of our companies. So good on you, Johnny.
Cheers, Craig. I appreciate that. Yeah, from copper in BC to copper in Arizona, Craig touched on that spike in the copper price yesterday. That coupled with that big beautiful bill to fast track permitting, as well as being located, and that 50% tariff on copper being located in Arizona, it's a great time to be exploring for copper. I'll be making some forward-looking statements, so walk through that. Obviously, my name is John Ward. I've been working with the Inventa Capital Group, heading up their IR division for the past 5 years. As Craig alluded to, this will be my second run at the CEO gig. We brought Targa Exploration to public, and Cam Teamster since took over from that. Some quick point out for our management team. We've just brought on our VPX. His name is Lee Beasley. He started a couple of weeks ago with us, so he's hard at work collating all the data that we have, both the historical and the work that we've done over the past 6 months to really go out and define some drill targets for us. We have a recent addition to our board as well, Dr. Jesus Velador, who is the VP of Exploration for Vizsla Silver. So really lending his technical expertise to our project as we push it forward. Obviously, we coupled with the Inventa Capital. We don't really need to go through that, obviously. And our PGO there is Roy Gregg. Roy was a former VPX of AMARC, so very, very aware of and great in that copper field. So to the Yuma King project, so we are about 150 kilometers, located about 150 kilometers northwest of Phoenix. We're kind of equidistant in between Scottsdale, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. So it's about a 2.5-hour drive through a highway to a full-service town right by our project. We're 3,200 hectares of 515 BLM claims. There was some historical mining done, and historical production, should I say, done on the project back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We pulled about 500,000 pounds of copper, grading about 2.3%. So it is a past producing district. There's been very little exploration done since then. There's been 21 drill holes. I'll go into a little bit later. 19 of those were done in 2006. 2 were done in 2011. All of them hit mineralization, but nothing was ever really followed up on. No one's really come in and taken a systematic approach to exploring this project, and that's where we've come in. We've taken a step back. We've had a look. We've done a big soil sampling and rock chip sampling program that we wrapped up at the end of last year and got the results a few months ago. And we've also flown a mag survey. Great access to infrastructure. We have proximity to roads in a full-service town. You drive down the highway, you turn off onto a graded road, you go underneath some power lines, you go over a railway network, you go over the Arizona Canal, and you're at our project. And just to touch on the lease agreements that we have, this is more of a lease to own. So we pay the prospector Merrill Palmer, who you might be familiar with, discovered the Palmer project in Alaska. We give him a straight $155,000 per year. We have no work commitments on the project. And other than that, it's just the BLM fees and whatever we put into exploration. So yeah, there's the investment opportunity here is the historic Ellsworth district has largely been inactive for the past 70 years, but we're surrounded by a lot of small-scale mining, essentially. And again, with being in Arizona, there's only one of 3 copper smelters that are located there. So when we do get further down the track, there's the accessibility there. With the historical drilling, it wasn't just into the skarn mineralization. There was some holes that went a little deeper that gave evidence of a potential copper porphyry that is feeding these zones. Why invest in copper and gold? I guess we have both of the elements here on this project. Seeing the electrification of the world, the global supply deficit looming here. Craig touched on that as well. And obviously with gold, a timeless hedge. So with the mineralization, we're seeing that Yuma King, as mentioned, is predominantly skarn. The old Yuma King producing mine was a skarn on the project. But again, it has the potential for that buried copper moly gold system. Further to the south, where you see in the green area, that is more orogenic gold. That's what we're seeing there, and in that further northern area is where we're predominantly targeting with our initial testing, is that copper gold moly. So yeah, again, the old Yuma King mine is still open for expansion, and a lot of work to be done. So here's Merrill Palmer. He's the prospector. He actually turned 85 on our last site visit down there, but he's still as spry as he was in his 20s, I think. He's responsible for finding that Palmer project in Alaska. Constantine Metals held this project previously, and when American Pacific took over Constantine, they dropped it back to Merrill, and then through our networks and connections, ended up in our hands. Yep, so the legacy drilling that we have here, the 19 drill holes done by Big Bar in 2006, they're indicating a possible copper moly gold porphyry system. So there's a lot of work still to be done here, but having the geology as well as the mineralization that we're seeing in some of these old historic holes is very, it's indicative of a larger system at part here. So yeah, again, touching on that historic drill holes in and around that Yuma King mine, there was 52 meters, about 1.2% copper, 7 meters of copper equivalent, should I say, and 7 meters at about, 2.5% copper equivalent. There's some other old drill holes. This AV1101 hole as well, that was more of a step out. That was done in 2011 by a company called Vane. They did a 1,000-foot step out to the north of the old producing Yuma King mine, and they hit mineralization, the same kind of geology that they saw at the Yuma King project, further at depth. So when we came on and took it over, we did a comprehensive soil and rock chip sampling program around mainly that northern half of the project. We did 2,300 soils, 300 rock chip samples, and we got that data probably about 3 months ago back. Of that, we were seeing very high-grade gold and copper in the rock chips, and you can see up to 17.15 grams per ton gold, as well as we've discovered in that Yuma King West area, an area that was really relatively unknown. There's no historical data on it. We went out there and did this sampling program. There was a couple of prospector pits sunk in that area, but it pulled out some of the highest grade gold that we've seen on the project. In addition, on the west of that, the old Yuma King mine, we saw a 400-meter long gold anomaly, or gold trend, should I say, where 11 out of the 25 samples graded between 1 and 6.12 grams per ton. So very great to see, especially with our first pass. 2 minutes? Okay, let's. And then I'll touch on the copper, up to 11.6% copper. So we've seen some high grade in the rock chip samples. Additionally, with our soil sampling, we identified a 1.2 kilometer copper gold moly anomaly that's surrounding that Yuma King mine. Again, unknown before we came in and did this soil sampling program. We're very happy to see that, and we have since flown a drone mag survey. My geological team is currently underway getting all that data together so we can press release it and I can talk to it a little bit more. But from first indication, it's looking very good. So yeah, as we're working, our next stage is essentially using this historical data plus the soil sampling program plus the drone mag data that we've flown across this project to really start identifying high priority drill targets. And from that, we'll get out and essentially hopefully be drilling by the end of this year. There's a quick cap structure, so a little over 47 million shares outstanding. So still, like Craig said, with Vizsla Copper, we are very undervalued. And there's tremendous upside, especially as we kick off a drill campaign later in the year. And yeah, the 3 reasons I'll leave you with the 3 reasons. Obviously, I'm running out of time. Jeff's giving me that look. District scale copper gold potential, a strong and supportive market fundamentals, obviously backed by Inventa capital as well. So a strong access to capital and experienced leadership. So thank you very much. Oh yeah. Next up of the rankings for the Inventa capital is the CEO of Kosa Resources, Keith Bodnarchuk.
Thanks, John. As John mentioned, I'm Keith Bodnarchuk, CEO of Kosa Resources, and we are looking to make the next great uranium discovery. So we'll be making some forward-looking statements. So are we undergoing the craziest uranium boom we've ever seen? Are we at the start of it? Simply put, yes, I believe so. I can't quite get into a whole bunch of details here just due to time, but please come by the booth after. I'm happy to walk you through it. But just to paint a bit of a picture about what's really happening in the uranium space, you go back to 2011 when Fukushima happened in Japan. Germany started to shut down reactors. Japan started to shut down reactors. The world thought people were moving away from nuclear power. But what really kept happening was that China kept building reactors, India kept building reactors, which brought us to a couple of years ago where demand has actually surpassed pre-Fukushima levels, yet the price of uranium remained depressed. We underwent a bear market and nobody was putting new production online. And it brings us to today where we have this unprecedented demand coming in from groups like Meta, Facebook, Amazon, who are all investing in nuclear power, yet we know from a supply standpoint that we're not going to be able to get there for years. And so it's creating kind of this tight elastic band that is about to snap and create what we foresee as the craziest uranium boom that we're about to undergo. So just to kind of set the precedent about Kosa Resources, this shows the This shows the countries with the highest demand for uranium, and on the right side you'll see the companies that produce the most uranium. So the United States still consumes the most uranium in the world. China is rapidly catching them, followed by France. From a production standpoint, Kazakhstan is the largest producer of uranium, followed by Canada, and then Namibia. And so what you have is this situation where the largest consumers of uranium aren't able to meet it from a production standpoint. And what you have with Kazakhstan is China really cozying up to it and securing all the supply from Kazakhstan, making it so that if Kazakhstan is able to ramp up production from any standpoint, that's going to strategic supplies in China. So that really leaves Canada to really help supply United States and France, going forward. And you look at the production being 50,000 tons per year versus the consumption being 58,000 tons per year. This is actually 2-year-old data, so that shows you that we've been producing at a deficit for a long time here, and it's really causing that band to tighten more and more and more. So is it something that Canada's done right, really, to be able to produce that much uranium? Well, the reality is they're lucky. They have an area called the Athabasca Basin, which is the most geologically unique area to explore for uranium in the world. It's home to elephant-sized uranium deposits, it's home to the highest grade uranium deposits, and it's situated in northern Saskatchewan in Canada, a small little area. And just for perspective, the global average grade of deposit is, uranium deposit is 0.2% uranium. So you pick up a piece of rock in that deposit, 0.2% of that will be U3O8. In the Athabasca Basin, the hurricane deposit, which I'll touch on a bit, the average grade is 34.5% uranium. Over 90% of that deposit is above 50% uranium. So you're picking up a piece of rock there, and it's half of that is uranium. So this is some of the most valuable rock in the world. This is why Cosa is in this area. And we are somewhat of a newer story, but I'll touch on here that we actually have a really good track record of making discoveries in this specific part of the world. So here's Cosa's award-winning team. I'll point to those 3 companies at the bottom. What do those 3 companies have in common? You look at their valuations: NextGen Energy, $3.8 billion US, Denison, $1.6 billion US, ISO Energy, $370 million US. The 3 things these companies have in common is they all made a significant discovery in the Athabasca Basin in the past 15 years that underpins their current valuation. The other thing they have in common is that our team had our fingerprints in all of these companies during their discovery phase. Craig Parry right there was part of a founder of NextGen, former CEO of ISO Energy. I spent 9 years at Denison Mines along with Steve Blower, and then all of us worked at ISO Energy, where we had that recent discovery of what turned out to be the highest grade indicated uranium resource in the world. And so we're trying to do it again here with Kosa Resources. We're addicted to it, we're treasure hunters, and we love operating in this part of the world. I'll bring extra attention to Denison Mines because we just did a transaction with them at Kosa Resources. They now own 20% of our company. Denison is, a leading development company in the uranium space. They're pioneering the ISR technology into high-grade uranium deposits. And, they have a strong treasury, and importantly, they had great projects that they weren't going to get to during this uranium cycle. I worked there for 9 years, so I identified a few of those great projects. We managed to do a transaction whereby we acquired these projects. They've put up their hand to invest in us during our last financing. They maintained their 20%. So I think it further validated what we're doing here, having that strong strategic partner in Denison Mines. And so what are the 3 projects we got from them? So this is the Athabasca Basin. Just for perspective, the east side of the Athabasca Basin is home to all the current mines and mills. 2 of the largest uranium mines in the world are over there. That would be Cameco's McArthur River and Cigar Lake. A good way to think about how we explore for uranium in that area, our chairman, Steve Blower, who's a very decorated uranium geologist, said, locally these deposits are very hard to find, but regionally there is a pattern to them. You have this string of pearls where you can map down from McArthur River, down past Griffin Phoenix, down to Key Lake. We call these uranium corridors. And what Steve said, get as much ground as we can within these uranium corridors to really set ourselves up to ultimately make that next great discovery. And so we did that, and then we added to that with these recent transactions with Denison Mines. And you'll see them situated really next to some of the elephant-sized deposits that are in the Athabasca Basin. So Murphy Lake North, I'll bring attention to that. It's situated right beside the Hurricane deposit. Our group is very familiar with that, having discovered it during our time at ISO Energy. So this is our backyard. We know exactly what we're looking for. This was kind of the crown jewel to get from Denison when we did the transaction. We closed the transaction in January of this year. We had a drill on site within a month. We were only able to do 4 holes just due to timing constraint, but we're back there right now and we're drilling, and it really it really ticks the boxes of what we look for in a project, right? It's simple as it sounds. The best place to be looking for uranium is next to uranium. So obviously we're situated right next to the highest grade uranium deposit. It's shallow. It's less than 250 meters, which is very shallow in this part of the world. A lot of the great mines in the area are 400 to 500 meters. So that's cost-saving measures and allows your dollars to go a lot further. And we're currently drilling, which is the biggest catalyst for a company like us. It's drill, 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 and that's currently what we're doing on this project. I'll just briefly touch on this project, Darby. This was another one that we got from Denison. This one was tough to get. Went back and forth a long time to get this from them, but it's situated next to Cameco's Cigar Lake, the largest uranium mine in the world. This project hasn't been drilled in 15 years. It's sat in Denison's portfolio. They're obviously spending all their money advancing their Phoenix deposit into production, and so they didn't get around to exploring this. And this is one that we saw. It really ticks all those boxes of being somewhat unloved, but located right next to a world-class deposit. And so we'll get there early next year to drill. And we also have a huge land portfolio of 100% owned projects. It does seem like a lot, but we've always taken that approach of kind of the drill it and kill it. Make sure we have a whole bunch of targets in a row. I'm not going to talk to you about a flagship until we ultimately make that discovery. At ISO Energy, it was our first hole that we actually hit the Hurricane deposit, but it's our 7th project. And so it can take time to find these things, but we really take that pipeline approach of getting as much targets as we can and really, trading up like we did with the recent transaction with Denison Mines. And 2 minutes, okay? And so why is it important to own land in this part of the world? So this is the Athabasca Basin in January 2020. You'll see all the orange claims were actually all the projects that were controlled by companies at the time. This is 2025. 2020, 2025. The race is on. Everybody's here. We're well situated. Everybody's trying to go treasure hunting in this area, and a lot of groups are new to the space. I've been there since 2007. I actually grew up in Saskatchewan in this part of the world, so we know exactly what we're doing. We're ideally situated, and this land is becoming extremely valuable. And so what's next? I already touched on this. We're drilling. It's the most fun time of the year for us when we get to really try and make that next great discovery. Denison is 30% owner of this project. They've maintained that 30% interest by covering 30% of the bills. So that's always a good validation that they've maintained interest in it. We're reasonably tightly held. We have about $5 million in the bank, so we're well financed. Denison owns a lot. Management advisors, we maintain about 15% in the company itself. And it's really well situated like ISO Energy was when we ultimately made that discovery. We were at about a 30-cent stock, Craig, at the time we made the discovery, and within 18 months we were $6 in a bad uranium market. And that's actually the share price chart on the right there. That's what happened to us. That was a very fun ride to be a part of when we made that discovery. And I'll quickly draw your attention to the chart on the left. So these are all the uranium companies in Canada. The dark line is the sub $30 million Athabasca Basin explorers. And so what you're seeing is that they have not seen that increase in valuation yet. And that's what happens in these uranium booms. The Camecos, the large companies, start to see that initial appreciation, and then it trickles down to the juniors like us. And so we're a unique situation in the sense that the last company we're involved in, we created that share price chart, obviously in a bad uranium market, and now we're kind of in that undervalued, unloved part where the capital is slowly starting to trickle down to that area. So it's a great time. You have not missed the uranium boom. You have lots of time left to ultimately make an investment. And I'll just briefly say this is the strongest version of the team that I've ever been a part of. We have VP Exploration Andy, who obsesses over the targets where we're going to drill, dreams about it in the shower, and that's exactly what you want in a VP of Exploration that's going to ultimately make that next state discovery. So thank you very much. Please stop by the booth if you have any more questions.
Okay, so I kept these guys on time because the organizers kept me on time, right? So anyway, we're on time because we have some time for Q&A. So we've got like 5 or 10 minutes. They don't want us to go past, they want us to be out of here before 2. So 5 or 10 minutes, please stand up, shout your question out for any of these 4 companies. you'll take it over. Okay, please stand up, shout a question out. We don't have much time.
Hi, good afternoon. This is for anyone. You mentioned the size uranium mine that you found in the Athabasca region. What's the flash to bang from drilling to realizing the uranium material?
Or here.
So the question is about like how fast it'd be into production or in that?
Yeah, so kind of found that and start drilling,
Yeah, so the beauty of that is that like we went from 30 cents to $6 pre-resource. It's just based on the grades that we were hitting, and that's kind of what happens when you're drilling that high of grade of material, that you will see the share price appreciate even before you're able to get a resource out. But if you do have success, it'll probably take you a year or two to drill out the resource to ultimately put that out, and then that would be your next leg up in valuation. Obviously, Craig was at NextGen, and that was in a truly bad uranium market that they were putting out those amazing results. And it was really once they got out that initial resource that surprised the market with the size that they really revaluated. But yeah, like you look at the valuations of those companies, like that's $4 billion US, $2 billion US. These are all pre-cash flow companies, and none of them have put a shovel in the ground yet to build a mine. So it just shows the value that these companies really retain in the Athabasca Basin, just based on the value of the deposit that they have.
Oh, here, yeah, thanks. On the chart for the silver company, there's check marks all the way up through mid-2025, and then no check mark for the permitting there. I'm wondering if that's changed since the printing of this pamphlet, and if not, how close are you, and what are the holdups?
So we expect to receive our permit in the next 12 months, basically the second half, or the first half, I should say, of 2026. So we've submitted our permit application, and there's a statutory time frame. We've actually given ourselves about twice the statutory time frame to receive it before it becomes any disruption to our time frame. So we've had a lot of early interaction with the Environmental Ministry of Mexico. They've received our permits, they've commented on them. We spent a week with them in Mexico City when we first initially submitted that application. Since then, so we submitted it about 4 months ago. Since then, we've had multiple rounds of further questions, clarifications, those types of things. So they're processing it right now. Those questions have stopped, so we're in the process now of just going through these approvals. So because it's completely out of our control, and I never try to guess what a government agency might do and on what time frame. We've given ourselves a very long timeline to accomplish that permitting. However, there are a number of people within Vizsla, primarily the people that interact with SEMERNAT, the Environmental Ministry, that are extremely encouraged by those interactions, that are expecting to get it much sooner. However, as the spokesperson for the company, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
This is on Vizsla. When you acquired the property, you also bought the mill that came along with it. What are you planning on doing with the mill right now?
Are you talking about the original property package?
Yeah.
That mill has been, we were going to sell it for scrap metal, but instead we actually sold it as part of the Santa Fe deal. So we got them to take it away from that site and remove it for us, which is great because it was really had no value to us at all. It was 300 tons per day, kind of a dilapidated mill. The tailings were full, so we actually remediated the tailings at our expense, and now the community basically has that area for their own benefit.
Okay, so the planned mill will be at a different site then, is that right?
Well, we're building a mill that's about 8 kilometers west of that location, and the way that the roads are, it's not really a trucking opportunity for us. So, we're building a 3,300 ton per day operation that'll expand to 4,000 tons per day, and that mill would, no matter how you cut it, would have been completely undersized for an operation of that size. So You know, we have a very modest CapEx, $224 million. We have $200 million in the bank right now, so we're very close to being fully funded to accomplish that mill construction.
How are you planning on financing it?
Well, we've raised all of the equity required as of about 10 days ago, and you know, the shortfall will be funded in two ways. One, through typical project finance, you know, loans from banks that do these types of project finance lending. And then second involves selling Vizsla royalty by the end of the year. Vizsla Silver owns 17% of Vizsla royalty, which is a public company. You know, based on what we believe and what analysts project to us, we see about $40 to $50 million, actually $40 to $70 million in value in that 17% stake. Gives you an idea of what we think Vizsla Silver can sell for. It's north of $5. You know, by doing that, we'll have more than enough capital to build the mine, but also continue to do exploration, build out the pipeline so that we can have project number 2 come online right after project number 1 is started.
Okay, thanks.
No worries.
We got time for one more question. Oh, yeah. Oh, so there's the QR code. You can use that to collect. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank them for the lunch today. And their booth is right, they're all grouped together. They're right outside the main entrance to the big hall there. So, okay, thanks everyone.